Thank you so much, President DeFranco. I am so excited to be here today. This means so much to me. And what a beautiful scenery you guys have here. Words don't do justice as to how honored I am to be here today giving the commencement speech. I want to first congratulate each and every graduate here today. You have reached a big achievement, especially during these challenging times. There has been a lot of upheaval and uncertainty for all of us, and I'm sure many of you didn't even know if this in-person ceremony would be able to take place. So, today, as we celebrate this milestone together in person, I hope you will savor this moment. So let's get started. We're all searching for the deeper meaning of existence, looking for a new perspective, a new way of doing things. There will be days where it may seem easier to give up if you're feeling powerless, defeated, or broken. If you believe there are no good choices, then you can't possibly envision any solution. So, with that in mind, I offer this commencement speech not only for today, but more importantly, to help you roll through the days when you really need it. Because there will be days where you question your own existence and you ask yourself, why bother? What if I told you that I thought the only way to my happiness was my own funeral? Now, I want to warn you, some of what I'm about to say may trigger very strong emotions, so if you need to step away and regroup, please feel free to do so. It was October of 2019. I was standing in my kitchen, gazing at my block of knives. I was trying to decide which one do I use on myself. Being the overachiever that I am, I actually chose the largest and the sharpest knife, and I held it to my throat. I was drunk. It was the only way I could work up the courage to want to end my life. I can still remember the bite of that cold steel as I pressed it against my neck. I was crying because I knew in my heart of hearts, drunk or not, I'm not sure that I can summon the courage to go through with it. You see, all I wanted in that moment was for the pain to stop and to find peace. But the problem was, I believed the only way to find peace was to rest in peace. Now, spoiler alert, I did not kill myself. Now, you're probably wondering how things got so bad for me. How could life be so awful and the pain so bad that I wanted to end it all? Well, life was pretty good until it wasn't. My father passed away suddenly from a heart attack when I was 23 years old. And in the next 5 years, I buried 4 more family members. I got kicked out of college at one point. And then I spent 8 years in a toxic relationship with someone who couldn't quit heroin and whom I couldn't quit. Do I really need to say more? So what's worse than losing something or someone you love? Losing yourself along the way. And that's exactly what I did. So how am I standing up here talking to all of you today? Well, in October of 2019, I willingly checked myself into treatment for depression, suicidal thoughts, and alcohol abuse. Not to mention, at which point I was finally diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which I had been living with for 31 years and didn't even know about it. So why did I enter treatment? Because I had finally had enough. It is not until your behavior becomes unacceptable to you do you finally make a change. And that brings me to what I want to talk about today, which is change. It's a big change going from high school to college, and an even bigger change going from college to real life. In part because real life brings with it an entirely new set of problems. I know firsthand the challenges life brings us. I also grew up with speech and language delays. I was at a 4th grade reading level when I entered high school, and I live with Tourette's syndrome. Not exactly everyone's first choice for a prom date. So with that being said, when problems pop up, I believe that one of the keys to personal problem solving is a lot like working your way through a Tootsie Roll Pop. It's not until you get a taste of the sweetness of that hard candy shell of resistance to change that you build up the courage to look your way through to the chewy center of the solution. Now, I know what you're thinking. What the heck does a Tootsie Roll Pop have to do with graduation? Am I right? But I want you to look at the chewy center as a solution to your challenges. What does your chewy center represent? Is it overcoming drug addiction, alcoholism, mental illness? Is it self-love, self-doubt, grief, or finding the right career path? The list is endless. You see, we tend to find solutions in the wrong places, such as sex, drugs, alcohol, food, you name it. We spend so much time trying to fix the external problems, but really, it's the internal problems that need to be fixed. For example, you could just bite down and hurry to that chewy center of a Tootsie Roll Pop, but you might break a tooth. And the last thing you need is another problem, not to mention a high dental bill. You can't rush the process, otherwise you might do more harm than good. Yeah, I mean, you could take a hammer to the Tootsie Pop, but the sweet Tootsie Roll middle, the solution to your problem, is worth the work and the wait. There's a reason that phrase, licking a problem, came into being. And let's face it, who can take a few licks at a Tootsie Roll Pop and just put it down? Just like a problem isn't something you can take a few whacks or licks at and quit. Both take determination and stick-to-itiveness. Both are ultimately worth the effort. And often, the solution to the problems at that sweet, chewy center of the Tootsie Roll Pop are what's missing in our lives when we are hopeless, depressed, and unsure of the future. When we stumble and we fall, we can lose a sense of who we are, and we see only the hard candy shell of resistance to change, and we forget that there is still beauty at the center of our story. The chewy center can be your saving grace. It's a chewy nugget of hope. It's that shiny light that beams through the window when you receive that call with devastating news, or you don't get the dream job, or you failed your final. It's the jasmine in the wind that you smell when there's tears in your eyes. What is the challenge that you have that has a hard candy shell of resistance? Would you like my advice on how to reach the soft, chewy solution at the center? I'm going to give you your first lesson on licking that problem. First, select the flavor of change you would like to make. Shit just happens, pardon my French. Change does not. To be the change in your life, you first need to want it and to lick it. Change is about moving past the past, making a new future for yourself, and most importantly, is doing things differently. Are you repeating the same thought patterns over and over? Are you making friends with, dating, even marrying different people, but whom have the same set of issues as the last ones? Do you feel powerless in making positive changes? The reason for this is because we find ourselves at the same place looking for the same thing over and over. It's kind of like that movie Groundhog Day. And just like a Tootsie Pop, if you select the same flavor every time, it will always taste the same, and you'll never know what else is out there. A lot of our hesitation to change comes from the fear of trying something new. So we end up doing what we know, and we ultimately go back to our old ways. Nothing changes. We can learn a lot from a Tootsie Roll Pop. They retain their firmness and freshness even on the hottest days. They stay true to who they are. They don't allow circumstances to change them. Instead, I encourage you to change your circumstances. The second lesson is to unwrap the problem, but don't let it dry out. In order to find the solution to your chewy center, you first need to accept the problem, then be honest about that problem. To unwrap means to save one's self. You see, we all have that defining moment where we have to choose to leave the wrapper on or take it off. You can think of the wrapper as a protective covering, not allowing others to see what is inside of you. What are you going through that no one else knows about? Are you wrapping who you truly are? Can you get through the day without being wrapped? And what does self-acceptance look like to you? We tend to keep the wrapper on because we either don't want to face the music or be a burden. We do it because we believe that people won't understand us, we won't be taken seriously, or we will be judged. People want to know that when they unwrap that problem, there will be a resolution, not an execution. And just like a Tootsie Roll Pop, in order to have a fresh start, and you must unwrap it in order to get a taste of the sweetness that lies ahead. So hurry up before the best if used by date expires. The third lesson on licking that problem is to work your way through the hard outer shell of resistance to that change. Tootsie Pops are known for the catchphrase, "How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center?" Well, it depends on who you ask. The reason for that is because everyone produces a different amount of saliva, and everyone has their own style of licking a Tootsie Pop. Some people simply suck on it and savor it. Others aggressively lick it over and over. Some problems take more licks than others. Now, even though Tootsie Pops are all the same size, problems are not. But each lick will add up to big changes. And sometimes you won't realize your potential until you exceed your own expectations and often the expectations of others. And speaking of others, who do you surround yourself with? What role do they play? Make sure you surround yourself with the right people, colorful, wonderful, of all flavors, who care about you, who understand what you're going through, and who are willing and eager to help you lick the problem. But not the actual Tootsie Pop, because that's really gross. The fourth lesson is to expose the soft, chewy center at the heart of the change you would like to make. You see, there's a point in the process when you taste that chocolate center. Now that's when you know you're getting close. It's about revealing the soft, tasty beauty at the heart of your story. As Brene Brown says, owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our whole lives running from it. Just like a Tootsie Pop, you must lick each layer in order to uncover the core issues that you face. Finding a way to dig through is the moment you find your chewy center. It's the moment you discover the real you. It's the moment your inner core is saved. As you expose each underlying layer, you will eventually get to the best part, the moment of chewy relief. And finally, the fifth lesson is to repeat steps 3 and 4 until you get to your chewy center. By this step, you already know what to do because you've already put in the legwork, or in this case, the lick work. You want to make sure you're not repeating bad patterns, bad behaviors, or bad choices. I'm talking about repeating what you've repaired. In order to never give up, you must believe